Okay, welcome. We start with a video so you know what we talk about today.
Okay, so welcome everyone. Okay, so let's have a quick look on our today's agenda. Okay, so we will start with the small introduction to the Levi World Cup. Mikko will do that part, and after that we will discuss the development and design of the Levi World Cup application, and in the end we will have some general tips for or considerations for building a mobile application of this type. But yeah, I'll let Mikko start.
Thank you, good morning everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here. We have also Soili Hirvonen here from our team who's taking charge of communication and media in this event which we have. Our story starts in late 90s when guys in Levi figured out that we could have a World Cup event in Levi. But of course we were shut down. They said you cannot have the races there, you don't have mountains and you don't have skiers. So our start wasn't so smooth, but then bit by bit things started to roll around, and in 2002 it was published that Levi is going to have the first World Cup event in Finland. Of course, before that we need to do lots of lobbying in International Ski Federation for media and other stakeholders to get that position and do some European Cup races before that. But this was the thing, and we organized the first World Cup event in Levi in 2004 for ladies in February. But in our point of view, that was just the first step. The biggest step was coming because the World Cup calendar was like this in 2005. Season was opened in Sölden, in Glacier in Austria, and then there were 6 weeks of gap, and then the white circus went to United States or Canada. 6 weeks of gap. That didn't sound too sensible in our point of view. So we started to push this kind of concept to International Ski Federation. Let's put Levi races between these 2 races so we can fill the gap between Sölden and Lake Louise. And that was a win-win situation for sports and athletes, for media, sponsors, industry, everybody. And we are the only place who can organize that event during that time. So that's also a competitive advantage for us, because we're the only place. And that's why Alpine World Cup will be open now in the future with 3 classic events in Sölden, Levi and in Lake Louise. These are the 3 steps in World Cup circus. Then some small facts. We have around 20,000 spectators during the whole weekend. That's a pretty good number because there are only 700 people living in Levi, so lots of people are coming into our event. Budget is 1.3 million euros. Half of that is coming from sponsors. 1/3 is coming from TV rights, and rest of that is coming from ticket sales, only 20%. Over 150 media reps are on site during the race weekend. Maybe one of the biggest points is that we have over 1 million television viewers every year when we are organizing this event. Think about 100 million, sorry. 100 million television viewers globally. That's a really big marketing value if you think as a tourism perspective, this thing. 2009, 230 million. 2010, 135 million television viewers. 2011 is missing because we need to cancel our races that year because we didn't have snow. 2012 figures we're gonna find out in June. We were also awarded as a Regional Developer of the Year 2012 as a recognition of creating the attractive World Cup Levi brand and promoting significantly the international visibility of Lapland, Regional Council of Lapland. That's a good thing for us, of course. If we go more detailed into these TV figures, these are taken from 2010. We don't have 2011 figures because we cancelled, and 2012 figures are coming in June, as said. There are 40 races in men's side, totally, 40 races. And this is live broadcasting time. And we were number 9 here. Point is in the wrong place. In that category. And ladies side, we were number 1. Here, you can see. Flachau, Schweitzer, Kuuseväel, Semmering are behind us. We were number one in live coverage. That's really important point. We are really important race for the whole series. When you think about alpine skiing, you usually think surroundings like this, and basically there are around 20 venues who are organizing World Cup. All of them are like this. The view is like this when you go there, except us. We are only one who is flat. And that's a good point, because then we are different, we are exotic, we are magical. We have our own culture, we have Santa Claus, we have Lapis hat, reindeers, everything like this. It's really important part of our event. That's how we want to produce our event. Put the Lapis things in advance. Go with the flow. Some points why we are organizing this event. There are basically two sides. Sales. First thing, we get money out of this event. People are coming to Levi to see the races, 20,000 people. They spend money, and it means around 4 to 5 million euros every weekend to Levi. Accommodation, services, logistics, restaurants, everything. Every company benefits that we have races like this in November. Maybe even more important part is this marketing side. As I mentioned, these TV figures and things like that, it's a big tool for brand building for Finland, Lapland and Levi. When you have over 100 million television viewers, this is a global big thing for all Lapland, all Finland. And of course, when you are organizing an event like this, you have a certain image. If you can organize an event like World Cup, you have to have something in the resort. People can confirm when they come to Levi that there are some things in order. You have good accommodation, you have good services, you have good slopes and things like that. We are world-class resort because of Alpine World Cup. And one good point is also that we are able to have other major events via World Cup status. We have had, for example, Airlines World Championships, Ski Instructors World Championships, Air Traffic Controllers Championships and things like that. Lots of big other side kind of events which are coming via World Cup. Of course, we want to develop our event. We have every year different kind of theme which we are going to push. First thing obviously was that we were allowed to organize a World Cup 2004. Then 2006 we had this new concept, ladies and men. And then 2008 we made big changes into our core, in our race course. Made modifications that racers could have more challenging races. Then in 2009 we put more efforts in side events, breadth and circuses, more bands playing, more this and more that. Then 2010, most of the people who are coming to our event, except VIPs, are coming from Lapland. Lapis family is the most important family target group in our event. We gave out 36,000 free tickets to kids in Lapland that they could come to watch our races. 2010, and put on kids land there in the race venue. 2011 we were supposed to put more efforts in social interaction together with athletes, organization, fans, with social media. But we need to cancel races, so it was didn't make to an end at the end. And also 2011 we launched application with Haiku. But the real big launch was last year because the 2011 wasn't so successful. Last year we concentrate on, of course, in this Haiku application, but we did some good work also for the environment side. We recycled our marketing materials together with Globe Hope. And this year we're gonna put more efforts, of course, to the application and this social media side, but also we're gonna have a new VIP product, and Sochi Olympics are coming. That's important thing. Obviously, that's a big thing which people are waiting for years. And we have done some cooperation with Sochi guys. There were some teams training in our event, and some staff were in our event to educate how to make the race course in good shape when the Olympics are coming. Then, when we think about a bit this Haiku application which we made, as said, 2011 it was launched, but event was cancelled. We did it again, 2012, and then it was more successful. And that's, of course, a really important part of our communication mix which we have. Because when people come to the event, they can find out news and program, side events, what's happening where, what's going to happen next, what is not going to happen. That's an important part of our communication. And also important part when expanding event experience. From our point of view, there are three sectors. Spectators on site. They come there, they can see results, see what's happening where, but also a really big target group is TV audience. People are in sofas in Helsinki or London or Munich. They can watch our races more actively when they are using application. And of course, different kind of stakeholders. We can give visibility to FIS, media, sponsors, etc. Three sides. When you think a little bit with a bigger picture, that this application, of course, strengthens our brand and image. There are some organizers in World Cup who don't have any websites, and we have this application. We're the first one who have application. We want to be in the front line, always on front line. That's our strategy, always on front line. And of course, this is a kind of good way to have modern and functional services our customers who are attracted by our event. We are now making our communication strategy together with Soili and Soili's team, and we are thinking about what can we do it so in the future that we could put all of our official communication via application or social media. That's one of the points that we are now thinking about. Maybe not next year yet, because International Ski Federation's rules are pretty strict, but maybe in the future we can do it so. These were my slides. Maybe Tuukka can continue.
Okay. I will tell a little bit about the project. Well, you see the happy punch of our project team on top there. But I think the most important thing to note here is that this was really a multi-site project. So we had our development and project management and design activities all handled in Espoo in our office, just 1 kilometer from here. And the customer in this case was at Levi in Lapland, and our development team worked from Moscow, which actually is pretty much the same distance from Espoo than Kittilä. So, so I don't know, it's not that far either. Well, Mikko already told a bit about the schedule of the project, but we started originally in August 2011, working with the concept design for the first Levi application, and we got the application done by early November 2011. The actual development time was only around 1.5 months, something like that. And well, then, as we know, the race got cancelled, so we didn't have the big launch we were hoping for. But that didn't really turn us down, because next year we came up with the much better application. We made some major facelifts for the app and released the new version for 2012 the event. We actually got very late with the Windows Phone release on 2012 because our first version got cancelled on the Windows Marketplace, which was a bit of a mystery for us, because they found a bug in the application. We got a crash report back from Microsoft. They test the applications in India, and came around midnight, and at that point we had something like 3 or 4 days left before the event started, and we were investigating the crash report. It was from one of the sub-pages of the application, but we simply couldn't find any problem with that page. We tried with all the test devices and all emulators we could find with different setups, but nothing wrong there. So we just had to rebuild that page entirely and send it back, and then just hope that they get it reviewed in time. Finally, it came came to the marketplace, or appeared in the marketplace the same morning the event started. So a bit tight schedule with that. Okay, so, and what we did, that's pretty obvious by now, but that's native applications for iPhone and Windows phone platforms. Okay, now Aura will tell you a little bit about the actual design process and things we had there.
Yes. Good morning. Okay, here you see our design process. It's very simplified, so it's kind of more complex, but this is the idea. We started with ideation in like late summer, and we recognized 2 user groups, which were Levi visitors and World Cup watchers, and the watchers were also the ones that were home at the TV, so there were different kind of watchers. But these are the user groups we recognized that would use the application. So the plan was to gather all the services they would need at the Levi World Cup. So, and we have the assumption that they wouldn't have any computers there, so all the information was through the application. Okay, the ideation, so we just tried to come up in a free brainstorming everything that they would need, and we came up with some fancy piste maps, and that you could see where you are, and bookings to restaurants, and results, webcams, news feed, pictures from the event, maps, everything. So some of them we couldn't make, like the fancy piece map, because there is no resources, there is only a static map, so you can't combine it to GPS data, but it's something that maybe in the future. So if you want to see all the features, of course you should download the app from the App Store or Marketplace. But the main goal was to provide an overall service for all the user groups. In the beginning of the project, we were really tight in contact with the customer, Soilen, and then people from Levi, and we just generated our ideas there and what they think, and got some resources. We used a lot of Levi resources, the weather, and they have weather stations down in the town and then up at the mountain. So we used the data there in the app, and so we got all the resources. And then, like, what are the possibilities? There's a cameraman. He could upload the pictures every evening to some service that the app uses. So then in the middle of the development phase and design phase, we were quite like independent, and in the end, of course, also customers, they were testing the application and gave us feedback. But we got quite free hands there in the development phase, and that was really nice work. Nice to go with for us. So the second year we made an improvement to the application. We thought of having more real-time services, and then then we came up with this FIS live service, which the FIS is providing. They have mobile live service with free integrated to the application, so every time someone comes down the hill, you can look at the application that what are the middle times there, and I hope it was very usable. Also, we have the webcams, so you can see the race place there from the webcam from the application, and that's kind of stuff. Then, of course, we have some challenges there. Okay, the deadline, it's always a challenge, but in this case it was a really big challenge, because the event, it was there. We had to have the application ready to the event, and it wasn't moving anywhere. And okay, then the team resources, it's in this kind of project, it's really tight schedule. We have like 2 months to get the application ready, and then of course, like in every consultancy company, people are in projects, and there's not like people there hanging around and waiting for projects. They are occupied, but we managed to have it done. In the budget, of course, a mobile application, it's kind of a small project, and in this case we have only the users, they were using it for 1 week maybe, or a few days. So what is the unit cost for the one downloaded application? That's something that needs to be taken into account. So it was kind of a challenge. And there are no budget or time for large user studies and usability testings. But I think the most important question is how to find a balance between these limiting factors and to get a really nice application, and which is usable and will give a lot of benefits for the users. So what we made to face these challenges, we made some walkthroughs with users, with friends who are downhill skiing, maybe competitions also. So, and then we used a lot of colleagues in our team and different experts who are using the app and gave us feedback. And that this is, I think it's a really good way to get feedback, because if you don't have the time and money for the larger studies, then you get feedback from others. Then we have these daily iterations with the development team and UX team that I'm representative here, and it was a really nice way to work, because we got every day a new application and then we tested it and gave the feedback, so the process was really light and not taking too much time. And then of course the communication, it was really important here, and even if we have these cultural boundaries here with the Moscow team, it worked really well also, and that's something that should be always taken into account. Then we made it like overall really agile, so we would get a functional end product with maybe not all the features, but it will be functional, so we always have a functional app going on there. But Tuukka will tell you more about that.
Thank you. Okay, a little bit about the development process. So as Aura mentioned, we worked in very agile way, and I think that's the way to do it if you're building a mobile solution like this. The thing is that you cannot really foresee everything. For example, on the user interaction design, it really helps to get the prototypes as early as possible to work with, to play with, and then be able to change the direction a bit very fast if needed, because especially on the touchscreen devices, it's very challenging to really design the entire user interface just on paper and try to figure out how the overall feel for the application is. So the way we worked is with a very high level product backlog, where we had on just as a topics all the items that we will be building, and we started working on it from the most important items, one or two at the time, and with constant iteration with our development team. So we would normally get multiple daily builds from our developers, and we would test those on the run and see if we go into the right direction of if we need to change something. And we would give instant feedback to the developers throughout the process. So, and like Aura mentioned, this also means that at that point we were not certain how far in the backlog we would get in the end, because we had the deadline at the end when we need to release. So the end product is really has as many features as we had time to do properly. Okay, then in the end, just some thoughts on designing or building a mobile application. There are some things that we feel are extremely important if you want to make a successful application that people really use and like. The first thing is that user experience is really very important for the mobile application, because people really feel their mobile devices as kind of more personal, more important than the basic web browser, for example. You can really make a average web application and people still use it. They don't like it, but they use it. But if unless you're running a monopoly on something, if you make a average application, it's the chances that people don't really use it that much are much higher if you're not really making it very smooth and nice to use. Also, the of course touch screen is a bit very different from normal web experience. So that's something that really needs to be considered. Also, what I already mentioned, the feel of the user interface is very hard to test on paper on touchscreens. You need to prototype constantly to get the real feel of the thing that you are doing. Of course, also the devices are very different, especially if we're talking about Android devices. There you will have the very low-end devices and the top-notch high-end devices with very big screens. If you are building an application that should work on all of these platforms, you really need to have test devices at hand, of course, but also some knowledge or experience or time to experiment with very different type of devices to get the good solution that will work well enough on all these devices. Also there is of course the performance issues. If you're building something extremely graphical, for example, then you should really be prepared for some performance issues on these low-end devices. So this is also something to consider from the beginning. Okay, and then of course we have 3 different major platforms: iPhone, Android, and Windows Phone. Well, you just need to know these platforms if you are planning to build applications for the platforms, because there are differences, like just, of course, the obvious physical factors, like the buttons that physical buttons that you will have on Windows Phone and Android devices, but not on iPhone, means a bit different approach to the user interface design or the overall service logic. I think this is pretty much the tips I want to give you on this. Yes, that's our show now, and now it's time for questions.
So, questions, yes please. What kind of background research you did for this application, other than just kind of showing it to some people you know? Did you do anything else, like questionnaires or something?
Maybe you want to answer this?
Yes, we actually used a lot of the Levi stuff to that they know about a lot of about their like visitors there, and we used their information. We didn't have budgets to any questionnaires or stuff like that.
So it's kind of related to that as well, that you mentioned several times that this user experience and meeting the user needs and so on, but how did you choose who are your users? What was your target group?
The target group was visitors at the World Cup Levi and watchers at the event, so also TV watchers and the watchers there.
I mean, did you choose like a kind of age? Like, did you reduce the scope, like between 20 and
No, we didn't have any that kind of. It's for all the people who have these specific phones. So we hope that they are all the users.
First of all, I think it's smart to have iPhone and Windows, because we're in Finland and there's, I believe, a lot of Windows phones. Most of the guys do Android and iOS. But my questions are, first of all, how did you do the product launch? So how did you get all the users in? And the second one is for the customer, Levi. How do you measure the return on investment of these applications?
Well, about the product launch, we have the website for the Levi, of course, and then the other marketing material and communication there. So the application was presented in well, of course, website, but also in lots of pre-communication before that. We had press releases, and then on the spot we also had this stand where we promoted the application, and we had these what do you call these huge blankets. Yeah, they're promoting the application.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I don't have the exact numbers, how many downloads do we have, but we are doing lots of kind of bigger picture investigations, how event is done together with sponsoring side Finland. There were some questions, how was this application, and the feedback was pretty good. But yeah, of course we need to evaluate more in the future how things are doing with the application, but that's also a kind of marketing thing for us to have this application. The numbers are maybe not the most important part, it's also the PR side and media side and this kind of stakeholder side, which you need to remember in this case.
Okay, yes, a lot of questions here. Let's start with this then.
Okay, about the, I was wondering why don't you promote the application for those ordinary skiers at Levi as well, because it has this map. And the Levi piste map is definitely useful if you're going to get out of Levi back to the hotel. Because I was at Levi this spring.
And you got lost.
And it is the worst piste map I've ever seen in my whole life. That is probably used that rather complex formation of Levi, which is a bit difficult to put on a flat map.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We have this m.levi.fi website, which is for mobile users, but we are making applications in the future. I think that we're going to push another application in addition to World Cup application, so that you can find home also.
And then I had the other question that in the iPhone application, which I loaded during the presentation walkthrough, there's kind of two-step. Well, there's an overlap in the navigation. You have, which you can see on the second slide. There's the kind of tabs which come out of the left side, and then there are small dots in below which you can swipe to left, right. What was the idea of having two kind of ways to navigate between those sections in the application?
Yes, we wanted, after the first year, we wanted more like these screens, so they wouldn't fit there at the bottom like usually iPhones have, and then the dots are like showing where you are and what's on the right and what's on the left, and then this like second screen there, it's showing what are the different tabs there. So that's why we have this solution. We wanted also to be a bit different, not with the like same way as always.
My question is down to it.
Oh, okay, so you're okay. Okay.
Yeah, your target users were visitors and TV audience, which are pretty different to each other. Also thinking about mobility and things like that. But the application is one, there is no difference between the two users. There's some reason why not, for example, TV had more second screen experience than having a mobile application.
Mostly the FIS live service that this application provides, it's really usable also for the TV watchers. And also we have this streaming from the ceremonies, which isn't shown anywhere else.
Yeah, and there's TV rights. We cannot show anything in mobile services or internet because the TV rights who are in front is holding those. So we are pretty strict with those.
But sorry, I mean, do you know now how much it actually being used? I mean, who actually used the application? Was it the visitors or was it people watching TV? Do you know that?
Both, yeah. But we don't know figures how many.
Yeah, but then both it could be like 199 or 99 for all you know. Yeah, okay.
No, we were monitoring what we can monitor. We don't see everything. For example, the FIS live, what is it called? Live scoring system, which is especially, well, it's interesting also for the visitors on spot, because you can see all the times live there, starting from the first timing spot on the slope. But of course, there you have the big screen. But at home, you cannot really see these figures and the overall standing list in real time all the time. So it's second screen for them. But we don't have exact figures there because it's basically embedded FIS service inside the application. So we know how many people loaded the application. We have some idea on how many people use it on the spot and what functionalities were used. But for example, for the live stream, which is clearly something for the TV spectators, we don't have exact figures. So no exact figures.
Okay. Yes.
I can give you some consumer feedback, because I loaded the application because I wasn't there on site and I had no possibility to watch it in TV. So that's also one important function, that you get the results. But I only now realized that there was something else too.
Yeah, the first year we didn't have the live service at all, because it was not suitable for such type of mobile use the year before. And this year we had the live service. Last year we were just playing with the static result lists right after the information was available.
And I would have wanted to ask about the budget. How much does it cost to develop an application like this?
I cannot give you exact figures, but like I said, the first year version for the actual application implementation, it was roughly 1.5 months of work. And at that time, for the first version, we had one developer for iPhone and one developer for Windows Phone. The way we did it was start with the iPhone, and basically we built everything ready, had all the interfaces tested and done for the iPhone. And after that we did the Windows Phone, and that was really something like 3/3 of the time or half of the time needed for the first iPhone version.
So I have one more question. I don't remember if you said this, but how this project started? What was the kind of the initiative? Was it only from Levi side to broadcast information to users, or did you kind of beforehand think about what the users might want to have on this service?
Well, for us, the design phase started with strictly thinking of what the users would need on the spot and at home sofa. But on initiation of the project, I don't know, Mikko may have some.
Yeah, thanks. Of course, when we want to be in the front line, of course, we noticed there are some applications available in the markets a few years ago, and then we started thinking, could we have one of those applications? And then we started to search some partners, and Aiku was the best one available, and we did deal with them.
Was it obvious that you would make an application and not just a mobile website? And how was the decision like afterwards? What do you think about it?
It was pretty obvious for us actually, because looking back to 2011, summer 2011, the options were we ruled out the pure mobile website from the beginning, but then there was of course the question whether this should be some kind of HTML5 application, which would allow us to make a hybrid solution that's then available on all three platforms. But looking back to 2011 and what you can really do with HTML5, you just don't get the same smoothness on the UI, and we really wanted to make an application that's nice to use. So yeah, the decision was pretty obvious.
One question there for me as well. Did you discuss at all with the mobile operators that have masts in the vicinity of Levi about network capacity? Was that a problem? Because I would think that a lot of streaming and stuff like that would be providing high sort of point load on their networks.
No, we didn't have this discussion. The streaming function, or the videos, live video streaming for the application, like Mikko said, it's not possible to stream the actual event live because that's owned by MTV3 in Finland. But what we streamed was the public draws for the start list orders and things like that. And those are very either early in the morning or during the evening, so there's probably not that much other traffic, so we were not really very worried about the streaming, that the streaming would really be a problem for the networks. And then the actual amount of traffic, even if you're looking at the live feed on the spot, is not that high on the application, so we were not worried on that, at least not this year. Maybe if we get a very big number of downloads, then we need to start to get worried about this.
Okay, now there's an application which the users they use it. Do you have some questions that you would want to know that what the users actually do with that, or do you have actually already something that you get some information of out of what the users do that give you some ideas of how you would kind of improve the event or improve other Levi services or whatever?
For the applications part, we will most likely this year add good analytics to the software. We didn't have that on previous years, to give us a good understanding on what functionalities and to what level and at what times are used. Well, we have some idea of that, of course, and we can see from the server side what functions get used, but not exactly how. But for the application, we are planning to improve with analytics. There was something else in your question.
What is there some kind of idea? Do you have some kind of ideas already throughout? Would you get of the data from the application of the server logs that how you would actually improve the event or improve the services at Levi or the application, or kind of use the application for improving the actual World Cup event?
I guess that's something for Mikko.
Yeah, thanks. You need to remember when people come to the event and they download the application and check out things. They're just basically pretty simple things. They want to know news, they want to know results, they want to see pictures, they want to see what's happening where. Simple things. Of course, we need to analyze what they are searching from there and how we can develop the event. Maybe we can put some VIP things in the future there, VIP programs, what's happening there in the VIP sector, put on VIP application maybe. Or for example for media services, put more efforts on that side, social media, these kind of things.
So I don't remember yet, I didn't check it out, but for example, one thing that if you're visiting World Cup Levi, then one thing what you have to do is you have to eat. So where are the restaurants?
Yeah, that's a good point. But that's what we have in m.levi.fi. You can book actually restaurants via that.
You perhaps even have questionnaires on the software, on the application itself. If there's an event, you could ask the spectators something about the event via these applications. That kind of solved the previous question.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So what we did also before when we did this application, we also benchmarked different. We had Last summer we had the Olympics, so for the last year application we used the Olympics applications and checked out what's there, because it's quite similar. You need to know the results and then about the restaurants. So we have the most important restaurants and application, but they are so many, so we don't have all the ones that are at levi.fi. We have also stores and stuff like that. You can point them on the map and then you can get directions there.
Any more questions? One final from me. Do you have any plans for now on putting some kind of in-app purchase stuff on the application? By, you know, there's always a lot of T-shirts and caps and stuff like that. You can buy, a lot of ways in which you might want to encourage the people visiting to spend money. But were you thinking at all about putting some kind of business?
Yeah, that's one of the points which we need to consider in the future. But yeah, that's not maybe the easiest one. The easiest case, because they can go when they come to site, they can go to the shop anyway.
Yeah.
But, so.
Okay.
Anyway.
More questions? Okay, thanks guys.